Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect. It is Sunday, September 22nd, 2024. Lots to talk about this week as always. We have Agatha all along and the Penguin now on our TV screens, and we're going to talk about those first episodes here in a little bit, among some other things I'm sure. But first, I'm Dave Lott. Joining me this week is Bobby Jackson. How's it going, Bobby?
Good. How's it going? It's been a while.
It has been a while. Also with us, Michelle Hillard. How's it going, Michelle?
Hi. Hello, everyone. It has been a little bit.
It has been a little bit. The gang's all back together.
Yay.
Welcome, gang. Yeah, we're going to get to those reviews in a little bit, but I have questions for Bobby.
Oh,
yeah. Start with.
Yeah, we do.
Bobby's been in on it. We went on a trip to Dragon Con, but Bobby's vacation was more extended, so he hasn't been with us since. Before we ask him his thoughts on Dragon Con, though, I have to ask, it sounds like returning badge registration for San Diego Comic-Con did not go according to plan, and I apologize. I don't know why I'm apologizing. It's not my fault, but I'm sorry. It's terrible.
Yeah, that's an ordeal. So every year you go through the badge registration chaos, I guess it feels like at times. And this was no different where it looked like we were going to get tickets because Yasha was in the queue, and he actually got into once you go move from the queue, you go into where you can purchase the tickets. You pick your days and everything, and then it gives you a little clock where you have this amount of time to be able to purchase your tickets. So he was able to get Wednesday through Saturday. And I wasn't when he was asking me what my member ID was. I couldn't remember it offhand, or at least I thought it was something that it wasn't. And on my end, I was still in the queue, so I couldn't even go and look up my member ID because that regular part of the website isn't active during when you're trying to get a ticket. So it goes into your queue. So I was like, oh crap, I can't even look it up. So I had to keep guessing. And then eventually I gave him the right one. But in that time, I don't know what happened. If there was something in an issue where he got days that now were gone because he was in the queue for getting the tickets, or he was on the front for getting to buy the tickets too long. And maybe one of the days was sold out while he was in there. I don't know if it works that way or not, because maybe it holds the tickets you've selected within that time frame of the amount of time you have to buy the tickets, and so that someone else can't actually get it. I don't know if that's a thing or if it still keeps removing ticket or badges while you're in there still. So if that's the case, then maybe while the time he was in there, the ones that he selected, one of them was gone. So what ended up happening was he got kicked out of the purchase screen and back into the queue. And so by that point, it's like, okay, you're back in the queue. There's no way you're getting back in there to actually get badges at that point. So lost out on getting the Wednesday through Saturday like we wanted to get, or Thursday through Saturday like we were trying to get. So yeah, that was sucky. And it was like, oh, you're right there at the finish line, and then something weird happens. So no real good explanation for it, but yeah. So now pre-reg is done, and it's time for the regular registration, which I think is either next month or November. So we'll be trying for that.
I don't think they've announced it. I actually just glanced around again before we started streaming, and I couldn't find any evidence of at least an official announcement anywhere about when they're planning on doing it. It just says kind of details soon about open registration. So, but I would imagine usually it's like a month after, I think, returning registration.
Right.
Or somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Yeah, typically.
Yeah.
So that's a bummer, but yeah, it'll be time to try again before too long.
That is a bummer, but it's tough. It's tough to get San Diego Comic-Con badges. I mean, as you know, it's a lottery basically, and a lot of times we get lucky. I think my thought has been to participate in open registration this year just to see, and kind of fully expecting I'm probably not going to get a badge because that's how difficult it is. But if I do, or we do, then going, okay, well, figure out a way to go.
Right.
I got lucky enough to get a badge. I'm going to make it happen, kind of thing.
Right.
Which is how it worked out the last time. We got lucky and got badges, and it was like, okay, I guess we're going to San Diego. We'll figure out a trip.
Yeah.
But yeah, you, as we know, attended your first Dragon Con with us. The last time you did a show with us. So I know that episode that we did at Dragon Con is not available on YouTube, at least not on our channel. I think it will be on the Digital Media Track YouTube channel eventually. I don't think it's there yet, but you can listen to our panel on our audio podcast feed. So if you subscribe to our podcasts, you can go check it out there if you haven't heard it yet. But we got a little bit of your thoughts on your first Dragon Con during that panel. You had been there for about 24 hours at that point. Mm-hmm. But now that you've had time to sit with it, I'm curious to know, what did you think of your experience?
I want full honesty, like just
full honesty.
Just don't be kind, just be honest.
Don't be kind. What are you expecting me to say, Michelle?
I don't want you sugarcoating anything. I want you to be honest about what you thought of Dragon Con.
I'm always honest here. This is an honest space. We tell our truths. And in this case, my truth is that I had a good time. I thought it was everything that it had been purported to be, because you guys have already done one video about it, and then we did a second video, and just everything that I had got a chance to hear, it just made me feel really like I was going to know exactly what I was walking into. And sure enough, it really felt like, okay, it's the reality happening now that I'm here and seeing the things that we had been talking about, and that you and Michelle, you and David had talked about. So it didn't feel like anything was told to me or sold to me in a way that didn't live up to what I was expecting. There's definitely a lot of cosplay that was cool to see. The hotels, being in the hotels was great, and being able to move through the hotels even without having to necessarily go outside is great, other than when it gets pretty congested on certain days where it's just like everybody's there. So then it almost becomes easier to just go outside. But everything else was like, just a lot of I think the thing that still probably surprises me about Dragon Con really is the fact that things can go on all night long. And if you're up for it, or if you went out at some point in time and came back to your hotel room to just take a nap, you could get back up at like 2 a.m. and still find something going on and still be partying the night away. So it's crazy that that's the way it is, but that's the way it is. And so I think that I enjoyed being able to experience the hotel aspect of it, and seeing everyone cosplaying and having a good time. And I like the fact that it's still similar and has a familiar vibe to me, in the same way that Comic-Con has, to where there's panels, there's still like a area for the artist, like pretty much anything you would see when you go to the convention floor, they have that similarly for Dragon Con. It's just in a building with floor levels. So it's all still there, just laid out differently. And yeah, I really felt like it was just, this whole vibe felt like it was familiar, because it was like, if you take the San Diego Comic-Con experience when you're downtown in the Gaslamp District, and you just see everybody that's walking around, and you just kind of take that outside perspective and put it indoors, and it's similar in a way. And there's still just this whole general vibe of everyone's just having a good time because of the event that's taking place. So yeah, I really had a great time going, and looking forward to the next time I get to go again.
So you are thinking of returning?
Ooh.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would definitely go again. Absolutely. There's no question about that. I know probably for me, much in the same way it is for you, well, I I would say it would probably be the same way for you if you were able to get San Diego Comic-Con badges every year. You probably still wouldn't go every year due to expenses. you'd probably go every other year, maybe. So I think that would probably be my thing for something like Dragon Con, where maybe I can't go every year, but I could probably go every other year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you factor in a coast to coast flight and then a hotel room for 5 nights. And it gets pricey quick in either direction, and that's not even factoring the badge price, which the badge price is, in comparison, is the cheapest aspect of the whole thing. It's getting there and staying there. That's where it kind of comes into play.
Totally.
Yeah, and for anybody who is interested in going next year, you should be in full on hotel prep mode already.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate thing about it. At least if it comes to, like, depending on your budget, having to like go to Dragon Con and then basically right afterwards going, okay, I got to think about paying for next year's hotel room. Maybe most likely not the whole thing, depending on the hotel, usually like a 1 or 2 night deposit, but it's a thing. It's a thing. And it's just also hard to get the rooms. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if they've announced dates. I haven't really been kind of keeping up to date with all of the hotel news yet for 2025, but normally the Westin and the Marriott will do their hotel sale sometime like at the very end of this month or very early October. So that's coming up quick. So, yeah, it's something I need to start thinking about because I mean, we'll be there next year, I'm sure. So anyway,
well, I'm glad you had a good time, Bobby.
Yeah, it definitely was a good time. There's no question about it.
And the thing that's fun about Dragon Con is like there's still stuff that you didn't even get to experience yet, and that's kind of the fun part about it. There's just so much to do, and there's only so many places you could be at the same time, which you can't.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's what's kind of fun about it and enjoyable is you can go, oh, well, I didn't get to check that out this time, but yeah, I'll go check that out next time. And you kind of always have new things to experience.
Right. But for those of you who are tired of us talking about Dragon Con, which we've been talking about Dragon Con now for like at least 2 months on the show,
seems like
that's probably the last time we're going to discuss
Until
it.
next year.
Till next year. I think we've covered it pretty well. So we were just curious because you hadn't been able to jump back on the show, Bobby.
Yeah.
We haven't talked to you about it, at least not since we were there.
Yeah.
So anyway, had to ask. Let's get to it, shall we?
Yeah. Busy week for
TV.
Yeah.
Big shows, at least big shows for us, hitting the streaming services. And let's start with Agatha All Along. Is now on Disney Plus. The first 2 episodes premiered on Wednesday, and I believe all the episodes from here on out will be dropping on Wednesday nights, or a more normal release schedule compared to the other show we'll be discussing later, which is a bit funky. But Agatha All Along is now on Disney Plus. And I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I'm going to start off, though, by saying not necessarily my thoughts, but I know at least when it comes to like expectations and just expectations for this show, it's been kind of a roller coaster for me. like how much I've been anticipating Agatha All Along. When they first announced it, and I was a fan of WandaVision, and I loved her character in WandaVision, but when they first announced that they were doing this kind of spinoff from WandaVision and giving her her own show, I was a little like, oh, okay. I mean, she's great, but I don't know. Like, do we need that? I don't know. But I was hopeful that they had a good reason, a good story to tell. So I was like, okay, we'll see. And when the first trailers came out, I will say I was impressed. I was like, wow, this looks like it could be solid. And I was starting to look forward to it a lot more. And then we get the news that the review embargo was being held until like right when it aired on TV, which is never usually a very good sign. Having your critics not be able to review your show until like right when it releases instead of like at least a few days, if not a week beforehand, is sus. And I know a lot of us were like, okay, is this a bad sign? What's going on? And then I started to wonder, well, maybe there's like a spoiler reason to not have critics put out their reviews yet. But I don't know. Like, it just seems weird. But the show is here now. So I'm curious to know what everyone thought about it. Michelle, you haven't had a chance to chat much yet. What did you think of Agatha all along?
I mean, yeah, I think I was kind of all over the board with my expectations on this one because it's like you said, like Agatha was fun with WandaVision, but like in the comics, she's not. I don't know. I feel like she's not like a major character or major player, so it's kind of like, well, this will be interesting. But then yeah, the last trailers kind of came out, and I was like, this looks like it could be something. Actually, this has got a little flavor to it. And yeah, I'll be honest, like I enjoyed it. I thought the episode was really good, and I feel like it flowed really well. I think it's interesting. I think it's a very interesting storyline, honestly. Whatever they're doing, and they're doing it right, because it's like, well, okay, where's it going? Where's it going? And I feel like you're kind of always kind of questioning it. I think, there's moments where there's kind of like a Disney-esque scary level to it. Like it's kind of like almost a moment or two of like cheesy and corniness, but honestly, it's like they're very short moments, and they're not very many of them, I think, in what we've seen so far. And I feel like it kind of goes quickly, and you're back into something that's actually interesting. I wish I had. I don't know why can't remember her name. My head's blinking. But the actress who plays Agatha, Catherine Hahn, I think, and she's an extremely underrated actress in my opinion. But no, I think she was wonderful. And like there were times I'm watching it, I'm like, her performance is it's really good. Like she's really into this character, you can tell, and she's having a good time doing it. And it's like, yeah, no, this is her show, and everybody else is just a side quest or story, side part to the whole thing. Like, she takes up the scene and just is the focus. She can't not be the focus. Like, it's just, it's going so well. Like, it's, I don't know. It's just really, I'm enjoying it very much so far, and I'm looking forward to more episodes, and I hope they didn't disappoint at this point. But no, I think it's going quite well.
Bobby, do you share her thoughts, or what did you think?
So when we were we said we weren't going to mention Dragon Con, but I got to mention Dragon Con. When we were at Dragon Con, one of the things that we discussed was our anticipation level for the show. And for me, it was one of the things that I was anticipating the least in comparison to some other the shows that were to debut still. So and for me, it wasn't necessarily that I didn't like anything about Agatha. It's just that I couldn't see why there would be a need for this show, why this character, other than the fact that she became popular through the WandaVision show. And much like other characters that are on TV shows, especially comedies from back in the day, where they would be popular, they'd get their spin-off show. And so it was like, oh, this character's popular. Why don't we spin them off into their own thing? And so that's what it kind of felt like, because I couldn't come up with a good reason for doing, of all the different Marvel characters they got that they could still do shows for, why that we were getting an Agatha show. And after watching the first two episodes, I'll say that I still don't know why we have an Agatha show. I'm sure maybe there will be something that comes throughout the series that will be like, okay, that's what they're doing. That's why we have this show. But up until this point, I still don't know that answer. But what I can say is that the two episodes that they premiered with left me wanting to see more of the show. When going into it, I was kind of had a more of a not really hyped to see it at all, and I was just kind of like, okay, well, we'll see what it does. And I felt like it was done really well. It felt like you were still coming back from that WandaVision aspect of the that series. It felt in connection with it. It didn't feel disjointed from it. It felt really much like a companion piece to it and a continuation of it. So I really think that was well done. They played on the whole TV shows motif again with the first episode of Agatha all along. And so all of that felt familiar and felt well. And as Michelle mentioned in her review, it all gets held together by Catherine Hahn, and she really is the starring vehicle of this show, and she is kind of doing the heavy lifting in terms of having everything be centered on her, because she's very good comedically, and just a presence on screen. She's just really well as done and fleshed out as a character, but just as an actress in and of herself. So I really felt like, okay, I came away from these first two episodes like that was good, that was solid. I'm ready to see more and get into this a little bit more. So I really liked it more than I thought I would. That really kind of is what it came down to. I went in with kind of no to low expectations and came away from it was like, that was solid. I want to see more.
Nice. I've got not much more to add than what you guys have already said. I think the show is basically just as good as you guys have said. Yeah, I was kind of unsure if, like, why are we getting a spinoff of this character? Kind of like you said, Bobby, and like I said before, but the show is solid, at least in those first two episodes. And that's also, there's some concern, I think, for me going into almost any Disney Plus show at this point, which is unfortunate. But Disney Plus is just kind of hit or miss with what they've done with Marvel and, Star Wars up to this point. And if we're just looking at Marvel properties, stuff they've put on Disney Plus, yeah, you kind of never know what you're going to get in terms of quality. And right off the bat, I would say the first few shots of the first episode, I was like, okay, I have a good sense of what we're doing here. Like, this has the look and feel that I was kind of hoping for. And from everything we've seen from the trailers, shots that we haven't seen yet in these first two episodes, being a horror fan, it looks like it could be a lot of fun for, seeing something in the Marvel universe that is kind of almost like, it's not a Halloween special, this show, but in a way it seems very fitting putting it out right now. And yeah, my camera won't focus. There it is. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Catherine Hahn, like you guys have already said, is fantastic in it, but so is everyone else really in the show so far. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like I said, I don't have much to add, but we're only 2 episodes in. There's not much to say, and we're not really going to probably talk spoilers about this. So I enjoyed it.
No, it's like, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the show develop, and I'm looking forward to seeing exactly like what's up with Audrey Plaza's character. Like, are we going to wind up having more of her come into play? Like, what's, like, it is an intriguing story. Like, it's interesting. I'm very much like, okay, what's next? Like, because it really, it's not like it left on a cliffhanger, but it leaves you in the, okay, well, we got the ball going now. Let's just see how this plays out. Like, it's officially at this interesting point where you're like, this could go in a lot of different ways. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it'll be intriguing to see everybody else's characters kind of flesh out a little more. Sure.
Definitely. Any other thoughts on the show before we move on, I guess? I know it's brief, but like we said, it's only 2 episodes. Not too much to get into. I think every episode from here on out is dropping on Wednesday nights. So if you're looking for that, you can find them on Wednesday nights on Disney Plus. Another show that has hit TV that we want to talk about is The Penguin over on HBO and Max. This has it's not that crazy of a release schedule. It's just really the first episode. They dropped the first episode on Thursday night this past week. From here on out, with the exception of tonight, well, we're streaming and recording this right now on Sunday, and any other night, The Penguin would be airing right now as we stream. But the second episode doesn't drop for another week, I believe, on the 29th. So yeah, I haven't really heard why they dropped the first episode on Thursday. I don't know. Is there another show that's like ending tonight and they wanted to get it out a week earlier or something? I don't know. I haven't really looked into it. I'm not sure the reasoning there, but
maybe they're just excited and they're like, let's just release it 4 days early. Let's just get it out there.
Get it out
there. Let's get people interested. Get them talking about it Friday at the water cooler, and then tell other people to watch it over the weekend. I don't know.
I'm sure it's a very uninteresting reason why they did it. I'm just curious. I'm always fascinated to know like the explanations for stupid little things like that. But yeah, the first that unusual. It is unusual.
It is.
But the first episode is here. And I'll go ahead and start off by saying I enjoyed it quite a bit. I'm not a big gangster mafia movie guy. I have nothing against that genre of films or TV, but it's not a genre that I've ever been like really drawn to. Like, I feel like almost everybody I know is like, I always feel like there's something wrong with me that I'm like, oh man, I didn't watch The Godfather for a long time. Like, I think we talked about it probably on this show. I think back when we used to do the You Haven't Seen What segment back in the day, I feel like I did The Godfather for one of those maybe. Because I just never, it wasn't like I had no desire, it just never got around to it kind of thing. I still haven't watched all of The Sopranos. I've seen episodes here and there, and they're great. Every episode I watched was like, this is a great show. I really should watch this someday. And I just haven't watched it. But yeah, anyway, there's that genre has not been one I've been exactly drawn to. And that's really the kind of show that this is, even though it is a DC studio comic book show. It's a mafia show.
Yeah.
And, but it's about the Penguin. And yeah, we've only had one episode and our thoughts on this might be even more brief. I don't know, but I thought it was quite good. And Colin Farrell, just like he was in the Batman, is fantastic in this first episode, even under all that makeup and prosthetics. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. Michelle, what do you think?
I mean, I'm with you. I will say like the gangster mafia kind of genre has not been one that's always drawn me very much, and same, like no hate towards it at all. It's just not one that I'm extremely interested in. But then like there's things I've seen that have been like, oh wow, that was really good, and other things I've been like, yeah, that's just not my thing. But this was really good. The production value is crazy good on this, honestly. Like, it's very well done, and the script is very good, and the acting is obviously it's quite good. And Colin Farrell, just completely disappears behind the prosthetics and the makeup. It's amazing. It's like watching a human you've never seen before as an actor being on screen. No, it was quite good. I was extremely impressed with the show. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm just blown away by it, but I was like, honestly, like that is way better than I was expecting that to be, quite honestly.
Yeah, it's like, I remember back when they were doing press for the Batman and like seeing Colin Farrell doing press for it, but same thing, like I watching the behind the episode after the episode was over, it's easy to forget that he's in the show. Like to see, you see all these other like showrunners and such talking about it or other actors, and then he pops up and it's like, oh yeah, that's him as the Penguin. That sounds funny, but you don't think about him being in the show as you're watching it at all.
No, he disappears into the character.
Yeah, for
sure.
Bobby, what do you think of that first episode?
Well, unlike you guys, I am a big fan of the genre of mob movies and shows. So for me, I feel like I'm coming from a perspective where I understand that genre well. And like you said, this show is placed squarely in that genre of other famous shows like The Sopranos and any kind of mob type of movie that you might be familiar with. And it plays it well. It is playing in a familiar sandbox, but with these characters that from Batman's universe. And I think that for them to do that is smart, and it's almost like not necessarily a page out of Marvel's book, but sort of, in that they would take certain of their movies and place them in other genres to have it like spy espionage for Winter Soldier, or something like a heist film,
right,
or Ant-Man, stuff like that. So it's just smart that they do that, because it tells these stories in a way that is relatable to an everyday audience. And for me, this show, even though it's only been one episode, it's it's made me feel like this is. I don't know if there's any other show that I've taken to quite so quickly. It's fan freaking tastic. Is about as best way as I can say it. It's just so great in terms of all the kudos you guys have given towards Colin Farrell, but also someone that was unexpected who's great in this as well, especially playing off of each other, is Kristen Milioti, as Carmine Falcone's daughter. So she's fantastic in it as well. And so it's just this whole thing of chess that's being played and who's going to rise to the top of Gotham. And it's just so I just loved it. I really loved it. And I'm like smiling as I talk about it because I'm just I cannot wait for the second episode. And I know that the Emmys just passed and it was pretty much Shogun and the Bears year. I feel like this show, for probably being, I don't know if it'll be a limited series or if they'll do a second season if possible and put it in a different category, but at the very least I think that you would think that costuming would probably be one of those categories they should get some kudos for, even though you might say, okay, costuming should cover multiple characters, settings, and all that. Just for alone what they've done for Colin Farrell as the Penguin deserves the award for, in my eyes anyway. But obviously, I think that he'll be up for Best Actor as well, or if they're paying attention and not going to bias it because it's based off of a comic book. But I think that it should definitely see some awards show love next year. But it's great. It succeeded every expectation I had for the show. So fantastic.
Yeah, I thought about the award show kind of take, like as we were watching that first episode and thinking, I mean, it's a long year and there's a lot of stuff we'll see on TV, and but it's hard to imagine right now that it wouldn't, get a bunch of nominations.
Yeah. Visually, it's very good. I mean, and you can tell like there's a little bit of CGI work done for some of the like driving, through Gotham kind of like shots that are happening, or like some of the, we'll say, aerial shots, like a drone kind of almost moving through the streets of Gotham. I mean, obviously Gotham doesn't exist, so that is kind of CGI-y, but it's not bad. It's done really well. And then the rest of it is all it's really just them on sound stages and like setting. It's quite good. The production is very good, and again, the script is like very, very solid, and the acting is good. Like the show it's start to finish, and we're just one episode in, I'm already like, wow, this is good stuff, guys. Like, keep this coming. Did you guys see that, like, I guess Matt Reeves, like, there was some movie theater out in California, like, they were able to get like a huge group together to watch it. The episode. Yeah.
Really?
And he was like, yeah, cool. He shouted out his thanks to them, and he was like, it was kind of cool to like watch something that's part of something you created in this universe, but it's not what you created, but it's basically like what you created. So he was just kind of like, you could tell he was like, it's all very meta and it's really awesome and weird at the same time. It was a funny post.
No, I hadn't seen that.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny post. I was like, oh, Matt, you're just so excited.
I was thinking though, going back to, you mentioned, Bobby, if they would end up doing another season and end up not submitting it for like a limited miniseries. I know I haven't seen the interviews. I know I've heard, I think, quotes from Colin Farrell that's probably not the plan. But I also don't know if he was just saying it in this kind of in jest way because he's just like, I can't imagine wearing those prosthetics again, like as much. Yeah. It's just, that was so much work every day to put that much makeup and prosthetics on. But I could see where, this is most likely going to be a like one and done kind of situation, which is fine. But I'm looking forward to watching the rest of this. And then my first thought was, knowing that we got the first episode on Thursday, but that the rest was on Sundays, my first thought was like, oh, we're getting another episode tonight, right? And then when I saw that it's not for another week, I'm like, oh, I have to wait a week. Like over a week between episodes. This is not fair.
It'd be interesting is that And anything can change because, like you said, David, he did say these things, and I think a lot of it comes from the him having to be in the costume and makeup for chair for 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
So, especially being the main character, so yeah, he's in it quite a bit to be able to be wearing that. So some of it probably comes from that, and it also depends on when those interviews were taking place because of however long he had come away from the experience. Because clearly, it's 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 not that he's not willing to do it. Maybe it's he's not willing to do it for an extended period of time because we do have confirmation, if I'm not mistaken, from Matt Reeves himself that the Penguin will be in the next Batman movie as well.
Which makes sense.
So
It does.
yeah, and so obviously he still is willing to do it. It's just he won't be the main focus, so he won't have to do it like
As
as
much.
often, yeah,
Right.
as much. So maybe there's a world in which there could be some sort of trade-off to where he wouldn't have to come back and do it for quite some time before the next season would come, if that's the case. And sometimes I kind of think that that makeup chair for certain people who do it for characters is kind of like how childbirth is for women, where after they have their first child, they're like, I'm never going through that again, ever. You cannot make me or pay me enough money to do that again. And then that traumatic experience kind of wears off after time, and they're like, I want to have another baby. And so after after a little while of being away from it and getting to see and hear and read the accolades from everyone about his performance and doing the show, and maybe you'll be like, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. You'll be like,
I'll
okay,
do it
I'll get
again.
back in there, yeah, in the chair again.
Yeah.
But
I,
I,
I
I was also, oh, sorry, let me just say
no, go
this
ahead.
one thing, and because I'll forget it. But I also think it would be interesting and kind of cool if for we know that I think Matt Reeves has said that he kind of wants to do a trilogy of this Robert Pattinson Batman. So it would almost be kind of cool that whatever villain he uses in the second movie, they just did like a HBO Max series for that villain in the same way. So then it's just like it's still a limited series, but it's still like a different character, a different part of this universe for the Batman in terms of getting to see more of these villains fleshed out in just a single season. So that'd be kind of cool too.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. But yeah, like I think the other thing to keep in mind with Colin is like he's also a pretty well established actor in films, and I think a lot is also just going to come down to scheduling. Like
True.
David and I even today we saw an interview, and he's definitely growing his hair out right now, so it must be for some part because it's much longer than I think Colin Farrell usually keeps his hair on his own opinions, and so it definitely seems longer. And yeah, I mean to shooting a TV series, even a shorter series, is very time consuming. Especially if you already are scheduled for longer shoots for a film all over the globe, and there's conflicts for sure that arise. So who knows if they could even make it happen a second time for a second season, just based on that.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, yeah, that's The Penguin on HBO and Max right now. So check that out. I believe all the rest of the episodes are dropping on Sunday nights, with the exception of tonight. So, yeah.
And there's a lot of shows happening. Like Rings of Power dropped an episode, right?
Yeah.
And then
have you guys started watching? Because when I last talked, you hadn't been watching yet.
No.
Oh no, still no.
Still
haven't.
I want to though. It's not for not wanting to.
I hear nothing but good things, and I mean, you can share your thoughts or share your thoughts really quick. I have a feeling based on what we said off air that sounds like it's pretty good.
Yeah, I would definitely say that. I'm a little bit behind because of the extended vacation I had, so I'm maybe a couple episodes behind. But so far, it feels like a show that has really kind of learned the lessons from the first season, from what everyone said, and took it to heart and made a more streamlined and focused show, and expanded in a way that it doesn't feel like they're kind of just meandering and just kind of like taking their time. It really feels like it's more got focused to where, okay, things are happening and you're seeing forward momentum. And characters aren't as annoying like they were before in the first season, or just some of the things that were going on that just seemed nonsensical. It seems like they kind of removed a lot of that stuff, a lot of the rough around the edges, and really kind of giving it new life in this second season. So that's always a good thing. And I believe I had heard the other day that it's been greenlit for season 3, which makes sense just because I feel like, yeah, it could be where Amazon would cancel the series if it wasn't doing well. But at the same time, a part of me is like, they spent so much money to get the rights and to start the show that they're in it one way or the other until they can complete it. So it's good that it's getting, the second season is getting more positive feedback, and they're more, I think, locked into the series now. So I think if you haven't had a chance to check it out, or you checked out the first season and didn't quite care for it, give the second season a shot and see what you think.
It's interesting because, I mean, Amazon really fought Netflix for this, and I guess the initial plan way back when this whole bidding war was happening was that it was going to be a 5-seasoned thing, and then they spent a lot of money getting it, producing it. Like, it's not a cheap show, and I think they were very like, oh God, let's hold our breath. And it had a really great, that first episode from the first season had a really great viewership, but then viewership just plummeted. And so I think they were very not sure what to do. And I think they were like, let's do a second season and we'll try to fix up some of the mistakes we've made, which you've said that sounds like they're doing. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy to hear that it's greenlit for a third season. Who knows if it's going to do a fourth or a fifth? I mean, only time will tell, but I know that initially, way back when, that was the plan, was they're like, yeah, we're doing 5 seasons, all these stories, from make it, expand the whole, Lord of the Rings realm. And I was like, okay, yeah, guys. I mean, this all sounds great, but like, that's expensive. And Hollywood is still Hollywood. Things do still come down to cost sometimes. So who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
I hope for the best.
And one of the things I like most about this second season is it really feels like within the first season and within the title of the show is called Rings of Power. And you kind of gets lost to me within the first season. And also just in general, because I keep thinking Lord of the Rings. So I'm like having certain images or thoughts in my head of what the show would be. But when you really get down to the idea of the Rings of Power, it's telling that story of how these rings were made and how they got distributed and everything. And so I hadn't thought about that before. When you see the first movie and you're just going through that prelude and you see how all this stuff unfolds very quickly, but now you're getting to actually tell that story, and it's actually a story worth telling and pretty interesting when you break it down the way they've been doing. So I think that's another reason for people to check it out, just to understand more about the rings and the power they hold and how they came to be into possessions of the people that they were given to.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting.
I'm looking forward to watching it. I need to jump on board. I mean, I don't even know how many episodes we are in now into season 2, but
I want to say 6, maybe.
Because
I think
we are behind.
Because I think I could be wrong on this, but I think they dropped 3 episodes.
I think they did. Yeah,
they did. Yeah, because they did that with the first season too.
After. Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get on that.
Yeah.
And then what is it? Only Murders in the Building also dropped. Like I think it dropped actually right before we went to Dragon Con. Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah.
And so like there was even a panel. I know we're bringing up Dragon Con again, but there was a panel that actually kind of like they did like this cute little like radio thing. It was fun. And very quickly they had to be like, hey guys, some of us in this room have not seen the episode that dropped last night. Like, don't spoil it for us. Right. And it was like, oh God, it dropped last night? Oh, okay. Wow. I guess I got to get on that. Yeah. It's like, it feels like fall. There's new shows happening and dropping and things are, coming out. It's fun. harkens back to a day of when we would wait for, schools to go back into session, because you knew when school went back into session, about 2 weeks later, new shows and or next seasons of shows would be coming out on TV. And now, we live in a different world. It's all streaming, but it feels like, okay, it's fall. It's, mid to late September. Shows are coming out again, new shows and returning shows. Like, yeah, this feels good. It's a nice time period right now.
Yeah, I agree. And it almost can be a little overwhelming just because of so many shows. There's still other shows that's coming soon, fairly quickly here, that I'm going to be like, oh man, okay, there's this, and this now that I have to watch. And then there's shows that I've heard were good that I hadn't watched and now need to jump on. One of the shows was Interview with a Vampire. I want to watch that. It's been out for at least a couple seasons now, but just it's been popping back up in the zeitgeist because the first season is on Netflix from AMC. So people are now starting to discover it that way. So I was like, okay, I want to jump on that. Bad Monkey on Apple TV Plus. That's been dropping, and that's pretty good as well. With I just all of a sudden just forgot his name, but it'll come to me. But yeah, so that's been good as well. And then I think one of the big phenom shows of the past few years is coming back to Netflix. Squid Game, that's coming soon. So there's like a ton of stuff to watch. And if you're into TV and have different things that you like, you won't be wanting for any content for a while.
No. I don't think that's a problem.
When's season 2 of Succession again?
Succession? Or
I'm sorry, not Succession.
You're talking about the Apple TV Plus show Severance?
Severance. Yes. Yeah. My God.
I forget if they dated it. I think it's...
When is that?
Soon? I don't know.
Season 2 for Severance.
Yeah. I thought it was soon.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too. I know it's
coming. Season 2.
Shrinking, looking forward to.
Looking forward to as well. Yeah, I like Shrinking. That was a good one.
And it's funny you mentioned Interview with the Vampire, because I'm super guilty when it comes to TV. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. There's so many shows I've started and I don't finish, and I just get distracted by whatever shiny TV object distracts me. And
no.
What? Me never.
Never.
So it's funny you bring that up, because I just this week resubscribed to AMC Plus, mostly because I was going to subscribe to Shudder. I really wanted Shudder because there's a couple movies on there that I've heard good things about and I wanted to watch.
'Tis the season.
And I went to subscribe to Shudder on its own, and then I realized, oh wait, Shudder is basically included with AMC Plus, and it's only like $2 more a month. So I'll resubscribe to that. And I had been subscribed to it before months ago or a year ago. I forget what it was. And it immediately showed me, hey, this is where you left off with Interview with the Vampire. And I picked it back up again. Over the past 2 days, I've almost now finished the first season, finally. Wow. I have the finale to watch now. And then I've heard very good things about the second season.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to watching the second season. So yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because I've just been now kind of catching up with that first season as well. So
yeah. Another show I heard good things about that I don't know if you've heard about the show or watched the show at all is Industry on Max, HBO Max.
I have not watched it, but I've heard good things.
It's what, season 3?
I think if it's not season 3, I read that they had just got picked up for their next season, which might be 3 or 4. So yeah.
I've heard good things.
Yeah.
Yep. So plenty of stuff to watch.
There's so much stuff.
Lots of stuff. Too much stuff.
Yeah.
We were talking about The Old Man the other day. Like, I've heard good things about The Old Man, and I'm like, I would totally watch that. Where am I going to fit that in? And then I decide, hey, I think I'll start watching Interview with the Vampire again, because I don't have like Star Trek Strange New Worlds to finish, or Rings of Power to finish, or, I mean, Shogun. I still need to finish Shogun.
Still need to finish Shogun. We're halfway through Shogun. My God.
I didn't realize you guys hadn't finished it.
Okay, David said it. David will start shows and he will
I fully admit
stop. And it is it. If there's one thing that makes my eyeballs want to bleed out of my head, it is starting something and not completing it. It makes me crazy. So I'm like, if we just put this on right now, we can knock out 1 or 2 episodes.
Yeah, it's true.
No, but at the same time, though, a lot of it is also just there's so much good content out there right now in the world, and so it's hard to not go, oh well, this new thing is also starting and I wanted to watch it too, and oh, this is like, there's too much and not enough time in the day. If you work a daytime job, it is very challenging to find the time to do all of the things and to watch all of the things all the time.
Yeah, it is.
And I heard somebody talking the other day, I think it was on another podcast, about these YouTube channels that do these really long video essays that can be like hours long. And watching those and how good they are. And I'm like, I can't even fit in like half-hour shows into my life. Like, I say that, and I mean, I ended up watching that one YouTube 4-hour review of the Galactic Star Cruiser that went viral there for a while, and it was fascinating. I watched
over the course of like a week.
Yeah, I didn't watch it all in one sitting, but it was quite good. But yeah, I don't know. It makes me think of that and hearing that conversation and thinking about like regularly watching these like 4-hour to 5-hour long video essays. And I'm like, no, I have to draw the line somewhere. I don't think I can fit that into my life.
We can't pick up too much more. We don't have the time. We don't have the time.
We are basically out of time. Any last things you guys want to talk about? I know there's some catch up with you, Bobby. You haven't had a chance to discuss some things, and I don't know if there's any movies really quick that you wanted to share your thoughts on that you haven't had a chance to.
Sure. Very quickly. And I'm sorry if for anyone out there that I don't get to expound upon my thoughts really, but saw Beetlejuice. Disappointed actually in that one. It wasn't as good as I was hoping. So, and that was one I was looking forward to. Let's see. I watched Transformers 1. Ooh. Shockingly surprised at how much I loved it and actually loved it and not just liked it. That surprises me because if you were to ask David, that was one of the things that I was hugely disappointed in when I saw the first trailer, and I was like, you know what? This just isn't for me. This is for kids. And this movie is not for kids. It's well, I say that kids can watch it, but it's more adult than I thought that, and I was led to believe by the trailers. It's really good.
It's funny how animation gets you like that sometimes.
Yeah, totally. This was surprisingly more touching and also tragic and all these different things than I was expecting. So that was great. And I watched Substance, which was really cool and interesting, and took this whole body horror kind of aspect that was just great performances by Margaret Qualley and also Demi Moore. So yeah, that was really good too. So that's kind of my movie minute, I guess.
Very cool. Well, guys, it's good to have the gang back together. Excuse me. We look forward to doing this on a regular basis on Sunday nights from here on out. We talked about this a little bit our last episode, but this is kind of our plan from here on out. If you enjoy watching us live on YouTube, we will be streaming our episodes live. The plan is every Sunday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. So if you, again, want to watch us live stream, check us out at our YouTube channel at that time on Sundays, or after the fact on our YouTube channel. We would love to have you. The audio version should hit our podcast feeds sometime the next day on Monday. So look out for that as well, if that's your preferred way of enjoying the show. With that, you can also reach out to us on Instagram or Twitter/X at Flicker_effect. And while you're over at YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon, all that good stuff. It's a big help to the show. We'd really appreciate it. With that, I'm Dave Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
And I'm Michelle Hillard.
Thanks for listening and watching, everybody. Bye-bye.